If your country is led by tribalism, religion, and or culture, I can almost guarantee you that the vast majority of the people that's living in that society are living in under like crushing poverty. I mean, and I'm talking about like little to no infrastructure, shanty towns all across the country. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I noticed that a lot of people who are arguing back and forth with Black Americans have a lot of very tribalistic talking points, and it's always hyper focused on like their culture, their tribes, and stuff like that. That none of that stuff is marketable, none of that stuff is sellable. So if that is like the main focus like of your country, everybody's all so tribalistic and so divided and just fighting back and forth with each other over stuff that isn't even sellable, that nobody even cares about other than you, then your country is probably going to be destitute. People are arguing back and forth with me about culture and languages and stuff that, like, if you're from a capitalist society, like nobody cares about that stuff. Like that's the reason why I feel like a lot of Black Americans feel like Pan-Africanism does not benefit Black Americans, because all of the talking points are always about what we can do for Africa, how we can build up Africa and help Africa, how we can send reparations over to Africa. And it's like, well, what do we get out of that? In exchange for that, you're offering us a connection to our roots, a connection to our heritage, our lineage. Nothing that can help us, nothing that can help build us up as a people, that can actually benefit us, our descendants. Like, I'm sorry, but money in exchange for culture, it's not equal. Like, I'm sorry, you don't have to come with something a lot better than that. If we're actually going to work together in a Pan-Africanist type of way, you got to offer more than languages and culture, because there's just not enough value there. And I'm not talking about raw resources that half of you guys wouldn't even be able to tell us where to even find raw resources, don't even know what to even do with them. I'm talking about real economic growth. I'm talking about, people in my comment section talking about, you don't know your language. Who cares? Let's talk about economics. Let's talk about building. Let's talk about making money. Let's talk about stuff that actually is going to build up societies. All of that tribalism talk is the reason why a lot of these countries look like shit. And I'm just being all the way real, because you're hyper focused on culture and all this stuff that doesn't benefit anybody. Doesn't benefit anybody except you and your side. Nobody's buying that. The only culture that's being bought, honestly, is Black American culture. The United States has done a good job at selling our culture to the entire world, but other than that, most countries can't do that. Okay, like if you really look at China is like a superpower. They are not hyper focused on their own culture on a global scale. Okay, they're focused on manufacturing. They make everything. Every time there's a new trend that comes out, or a new trinket that everybody wants to buy, you best believe that China is on top of their game. They're gonna have that product out by next week, because their focus is on the capitalism, the economic part of whatever. They're focused on economics, they're not hyper focused on tribalism and culture. So I have yet to see a society that has all of these tribalistic talking points that is actually successful financially. Get out of your emotions. Those emotions will have you broke, period. I'm not saying that the United States is perfect, but what I am saying is that it wouldn't be so many people that need to flee their country, that are suffering. Like, people are suffering and trying to find here, there, and everywhere to go to try to have an opportunity for a better life. They flocking over here. They flocking to the UK. They flocking to different European nations. It's like they're trying to flee because the focus of their nation is all this corruption, and the focus is not on the right things that will help the society build and grow.
Hello everyone, I hope you are all fine. Welcome to Black White Commentary. I'm your host Brian. In today's episode, we are going to speak about how Pan-Africanism has affected the Black community and vice versa. And therefore, the debate over Pan-Africanism, Black unity, and global Black agenda is facing significant challenges in 2025 and 2026, with intense discussions around whether the ideology serves all members of the African diaspora equally. Critics increasingly argue that modern Pan-Africanism has become more cultural and political, creating a soft unity that benefits recent African immigrants or elites groups more directly than foundational Black Americans. Therefore, stay tuned as we delve deep into the discussion and also in watching the videos.
A lot of people don't know this, but many people who now consider themselves FBA or foundationally Black Americans used to be Pan-Africans. A good portion of us used to be Pan-African at some point, especially if you grew up in the 90s, myself included. I think that Pan-Africanism is more harmful to the Black American identity than it is helpful, not because I have anything against Africa or Africans, contrary to popular belief, because that's what they all seem to think, that FBAs are just hate Africa for whatever reason. Here's what I think. I think that Pan-Africanism actually creates an identity crisis in Black Americans as opposed to helping us find ourselves or find some alternative identity. I think that Pan-Africanism, if you really look at it and how it's taught, especially because it really only exists here in America, it doesn't really exist in Africa. If you really look at how it's taught and the things that there's the rhetoric that it gives off, it really just takes Black Americans from being somewhat of a second-class citizen in America to being a second-class African. If you really because we were classified as second-class citizens after slavery. We weren't even considered citizens at all during slavery, right? We were just property. But once we became free, we became second-class citizens, especially when we tried to integrate into white society. Because anytime you integrate into another society, you're not integrating as an equal, you're integrating into something that's already there and you're going to be underneath them. So the same thing would work with the African society. So if we were to try to integrate into some random African culture, we're not integrating as equals. You're basically just transferring from being a second-class American to being a second-class African. The reason why I feel like it actually hurts our sense of self-worth and identity is because Pan-Africanism demonizes everything about being American. And our American identity is essentially the only one we've ever known throughout our lives. That's all our parents knew. That's all their parents knew. We don't have a culture outside of the United States. There's nobody over on the continent of Africa that we can go to and say, this is my relative. This is my home. That doesn't exist for us. So you're creating an identity crisis and causing a lower sense of self-worth because you demonize everything culturally that was created by us. Like everything that we know to be true about ourselves, you demonize it because it's attached to America. And then you uplift everything that goes on in Africa and everything, all the cultures that are over there, and praise and worship it like it's this God society. And that's literally, I mean, they praise and worship everything about Africa, right? And they demonize everything about America. So that would, if you really look at it, how can me looking up to something that I'm not a part of and demonize what I know create more of a sense of self-worth in me? That actually really doesn't make sense. Pan-Africans make it seem like everything about Black Americans is ghetto. It's our culture is just made up. It's always changing. We don't have no language. We don't have it. Like they just demonize everything about America and talk about our history and just they don't uplift nothing about Black Americans. Just dog us, and then uplift everything about Africa and expect us to have some type of expect us to look at it like it's this wonderful ideology, and it's really not. That's why I just can't get with it. I can't get with the Pan-Africanism thing. It's just, it has no value to Black Americans. That's just how I see it. There's no value in it.
Y'all gotta stop saying people have a fear of being African or people don't want to be African when they find out that their family lineage doesn't lead back to Africa. Because a lot of y'all are upset and saying that FBA and American Indians and everybody but African Americans have a fear of being African, but that's not the case. I think the thing is that we are decolonizing our minds. We are letting go of that propaganda. We are letting go of that indoctrination, and we are learning the truth. Because we are in the age of Aquarius, and the truth shall be revealed. Now, you can either fight the truth and be miserable, or you can just let the truth be the truth. Like, it's literally that simple. But the truth is that not all melanated people are Africa. Life did not start in Africa. And there's so much more that we don't know about this world because our minds have been so, colonized, and we have been, just indulging in so much propaganda since we were kids that we just believe anything that these people say. We believe it. We do. But I think the people that y'all are trying to bully back into the system that we currently live in, I think them are the real people. Those are the real fighters of this world. Those are the revolutionaries. The ones that go against the system. Those are the real fighters right there. So if you see somebody going against the system, especially when it comes to who they identify as, y'all should stop sitting here trying to make it seem like they don't know what they talking about and that they're having an identity crisis or they're, Africans or this and that. Just doing all the regular stuff that y'all do when y'all go against people who, go against the system. Because, maturing is realizing that not everybody's going to wake up. There's a lot of people that are still going to be asleep, and that was just the whole purpose in life, was to be asleep. But it's just like the more that the truth comes out, the more backlash, the more push that these people give. And it's like the only thing y'all can do is sit and watch it come out. That's all y'all can do, because you guys can't go against the truth. It doesn't matter how many sources you say. It doesn't matter, because the truth is the truth. And the truth is that a lot of us were lied to about who we are. Yes, we were. A lot of us were. Black Americans, the whole world. Mexicans, Hispanics, a lot of Hispanics aren't who they say they are. And yeah, a lot of y'all about to be upset when y'all find out who y'all truly are. And some of y'all are going to be upset because you found out that you don't know what you're made of. You know what I'm saying? But we're not going to get into that. But like I said, when it comes to like this whole fear of being African thing, people don't have a fear of being African. And just because somebody doesn't claim African descent doesn't mean that they're against Africa. Because I would tell you now, I am not against Africa. But what I am against is Africans in Africa trying to push Africa on me, knowing that I have no ties to Africa. That's what I have an issue with. And y'all trying to force people to claim that that's what causes a lot of the clashes. Because if you're African descent or want to be African descent, be that. Be that. By all means, be that. But stop trying to push that onto others. That it doesn't make it okay just because the white team man says, oh, all black people or all people from Africa. It doesn't make it no better. Because y'all claim to hate the white team man so much, but y'all love his science and his history and his education. I don't know why. But like I said, people don't have a fear of being African. People just realize that they aren't African at all. And a lot of y'all, especially a lot of Africans, are taking this to the heart. I don't know why, because it has nothing to do with you. I don't know why someone claiming not being African descent makes y'all so mad. But, that's just that.
From the videos, you realize that Pan-Africanism was an ideology that was supposed to connect Africa with or the black community at large all over the world, share the struggles around the political needs, social needs, cultural needs, or the social needs or even economic needs. But black Americans are arguing that Pan-Africanism has never benefited the black Americans or the black Americans community in the United States, because most Africans are the ones benefiting from Pan-Africanism, because most of them come to United States of America, work there, get economically empowered, but this all benefits goes back to Africa, but not benefiting the black community. Most black communities or the black Americans have always been hosting the African Americans into the United States of America, and therefore they believe that Pan-Africanism was an ideology, or the ideology has only benefited the African Americans in the United States of America, but not the black Americans. You also realize that most black Americans are arguing that most Africans concentrate much on matters cultural life, and therefore making this Pan-African ideology fade away. Therefore, most Pan-Africanists or most Africans have concentrated much on values, much on culture, but not on matters economic empowerment. Most black Americans are not benefiting because they believe that for this Pan-Africanism to become a reality, there is also need for black Americans to benefit in terms of economically also, not just culturally, because the arguments around Pan-Africanism nowadays has always been around culture and not economics. When it comes to matters culture versus material reality, you realize that Pan-Africanism today is often highly culture, that is Afrobeats, fashion, language, and identity. But people are asking for material outcomes, that is jobs, land access, policy alignment, economic partnerships. That gap creates the feeling of imbalance. There is a popular argument that African immigrants do better in the United States, and Pan-Africanism somehow supports that. That comparison can be sometimes misleading because immigrants are often because they think that immigrants are always self-centered group. Black Americans carry multi-generational structural disadvantages from the United States. So the difference isn't Pan-Africanism favoring one group, it's different starting point and systems. Therefore, calling Pan-Africanism a hoax might be misleading at some point because Pan-Africanism is here to unite all the black communities all over the world. Therefore, I believe this content has been of helpful to all of us. You can click the like button, subscription button, and put your comment at the comment section. Thank you, and let's meet next time.